Finally, I'd like to welcome our last distinguished guest for today and speaker, Mr. Hamid Zayani, who will be talking to us today about the financial impact of smart investment and renewable energy for business. Mr. Hamid is a very well-known businessman in the Kingdom of Bahrain, contributing and participating in the management of Al Zayani Investments Group of companies and joint companies with other partners. He is a founder and partner and ex-chairman of a number of companies, including Zayani Investments, Zayani Motors, Euro Motors, and Zayani Leasing. He is currently a chairman of a number of companies, including Zayani Industries, Bahrain Welding Wire Product Manufacturing, and Middle Cables Bahrain. Bahrain Specialist Hospitals, and also Al Jazeera Tourism Company. Mr. Zayani is also the president of a number of associations and an advisor to Bahrain Chamber Steering Group Committee, and a board member in a number of important committees in the country. Welcome on board with us, Mr. Hamid. The floor is yours for the next 20 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's always challenging to be the last speaker of a long day, but therefore maybe I can give you more of a pragmatic experience that should appeal a little bit more than very sophisticated university, and I congratulate them on the quality of that search. But first, I'd like to say that we are very lucky in Bahrain to have Dr. Mirza as head of this organization. Equally with Sheikh Nawaf, we have really very supportive people to be leading this effort in Bahrain. And Bahrain, being a small country, it can model and can progress extremely fast, much faster than anybody else. I could say something that it's not unforeseen that Bahrain could be 100% relying on renewable energy. And the fact is very simple. We consume 4 giga, while Emirates now is generating almost 6 giga. And Saudi is talking about 60 giga on renewable. So it's not a high order to achieve a 4 giga renewable. I am going to be talking about, I come from a very traditional family. We've been over 75 years polluting the industry by selling cars. We are 4th generation car distributors. Nonetheless, we have formed a company that's 1.5 years old to do exactly the opposite, and that is what we have named it to be Midal Solar. And the need for it came not just from the fact that it is energy friendly, not also the fact that we can sell our product, even gain a little bit of a premium for being green product, but it started in Mozambique. And why in Mozambique? Because we have a plant in Mozambique. And in that plant, we have constant disruption of electricity. And every time the plant makes wire rod, which means taking aluminum rod, casting it into wire, and then making it into cable. But every time there is a power failure, the metal freezes inside the machine. And even if the failure is for 30 minutes, it's bad enough that we have to re-clean the machine and get everything, re-gear the machines again. That will cost us sometimes more than 1 day to get going again. Let alone that the parts in that machine gets disrupted. And this is why we went about to go solar with this. But before I go into that experience, I'd like to give you a little bit of an idea where is Midal came from. Midal came from Zayani investment under their arm, Zayani Industries, and Saudi Cable. They're 50% owned. Saudi Cable is a listed cable company in the Saudi Stock Exchange. And we are a traditional family, as I told you. Traditionally, we were selling cars. We sell quite sizable number of cars. But then in the 80s, we branched into industries, and one of them was Midal. And in the year 20, or the last quarter of 19, we formed Midal Solar. If I ask, I think I have a presentation in here. If I can get Vivek to activate it. Well, it looks like he is not. Okay. So what we have in here, we take from a system design altogether into the execution, including obtaining the product, obtaining the inverters, and getting the system integrated and finance solution. The brands that we use in there to get this is fairly top quality, but without any obligation to one. So we mix and match and create a solution. For instance, the solution of Mozambique is you are relying on solar panels that doesn't work in the night by design, but also you are relying on unreliable grid as a standby. So we have to bespoke a system such that when we generate, we have to have standby some power generation, some USB for a short while, and we cannot rely on the grid. It's different than our experience of working in Bahrain here, where the reliability of the grid is unmatched. In the last year, we have finished, there it is, I'm getting to my presentation. If you can kindly move along, Vivek. Move on, please, move. Yeah, I am in the next one. Yes, the next slide, please. So we have, no, that one, please, the previous, okay. The previous, please. Okay, we have finished Bahrain welding wire. Previous, please. No, up front, sorry. One more. We have finished Bahrain welding wire, connected to the grid. And it is a project that was finished on time in spite of the COVID, in spite also of the fire that has happened in China, because the panels were coming from China. And then, but Midal Mozambique is running something like 6 months on their production, simply because of the lockdown in South Africa, which is the gateway to Mozambique, as well as we cannot get skilled worker there. Nonetheless, the project should be ready in about a month or so. We are fulfilling the slide that's in front of us, which is the target of 205. I think we're going to be contributing to almost 10% of that by the year 25, if we go on at this rate. And I will show you some of the projects that we have done and some that we have down the line. Next slide, please. This is the picture of our plant in Mozambique. Next, please. It is a plant to make wire rod from liquid metal. And to do that, we have done the project to produce 2.16 megawatts, and with 2 standby generators and limited number of uninterrupted power supply. We avoided investing into storage because the price of the storage is coming down tremendously, and the efficiency is coming up efficiently. So we don't think it's sustainable to invest in storage. We replaced that with generator. That was the other possibility, is to have storage or generator. So we have used diesel generator. We stayed somehow conventional there in our solution. They are roof mounted, and expected benefit of this, next slide, please, that it will be a green product. This means that we can probably obtain small premium on our product. It's a hybrid between solar and sun, between solar and power generation. It will, of course, as it's been said, that once you have a solar plant, you have an investment for a long time to come. We all depreciate over 25 years, but I think before 25 years, one would consider replacing this system with a more efficient system, but that we leave it to future to decide. In the next slide, you will see the picture, aerial picture of the plant as it is. This is an actual picture, not simulated. It covers everywhere except certain point where we have very hot stacks coming up that you cannot put solar panels. Should you put them there, I think, but this could be another venue for Mr. Flick, so that we can do heat capturing experience there. Again, what's encouraging there are two things, or what's making this project necessary: the unreliable grid, the high price of electricity, and the fact that we need not to freeze the metal into our. As you can see, this is our plant, and the plant behind is what's called Mozal. That is the equivalent of Alba, and our plant in here takes liquid metal from the. Okay, so can we move on? Yes, this is another aerial picture. Next, please. This is side picture. You can see the scale. It's a 17,000 square meter of facility, rooftop, quite a sizable operation. And it will be one of the leading projects in Africa. I think, next slide, please. Yeah, these are some of the pictures, but look at the saving in here. These are converted into tangible numbers. This will be the number of trees that we could have grown, the petrol consumption, and the kilometer of a car that has driven. I think it will be such a great, important plant for the region. I will show you now some of the plants that we have in pipeline in Bahrain, or some of them that's completed. Next slide, please. This is the plant that's already been in production, and the minister, Mr. Mirza, will be coming to inaugurate it on the 4th of April. And we are very honored that we have this as a first pilot plant in Bahrain. This was completed on time, on budget, and it is already operative. And it started in the shortest day of the year, and now every day our generation is slightly more because the day is getting longer in Bahrain. This is something, another experience that we have learned along the line. These are the next page is the parameters that these are some of the pictures of the inverters, and the next page will be the parameters that it will be saving. Again, these are in terms of cars, petrol station. We also are in advanced stage with another company that belongs to as a joint venture with Zayani. Next, please. This is Emery's. Let's get the picture, please. You can see also this is another sizable plant with a lot of capital expenditure of 1.5 million dinar to do this. And again, the area that is not covered there, that's also where some heat is coming at very high degree, and then we should consider recapturing the heat there. In this plant, we are connecting to low voltage as well as medium voltage. Again, this is part of what we call bespoking or designing something per specific thing. If we can go to the next page, please. These are the actual savings in number of trees and cars. So it's also quite significant. And the next plant is a support to Bahrain Specialist Hospital. As you can see, this is straight land that should be used for generation. It is under proposition. And then we have the next one, please. Next. This is Euromotor, the distribution for BMW, Land Rover, Ferrari, and Maserati. This is a proposal that's standing with our board now for approval. And this is how you can see, the payback is a little bit longer because it has a lot of carports to shade. And, this is again, you are here covering space for very expensive cars. You don't want to leave them in the sun. So that's also part of the special purpose design. And the last of this presentation is, one more, please, is Midal Cable, the mother company. And if we can have an aerial picture, the one before. No, the one before, yeah. And there it is. You can see that it is quite a bit of a sizable generation. It's 9.9 kilowatts. And it's also a sizable investment. And the payback is good because of the scale of it. As it's been demonstrated through this conference, once you have a large scale, then the price go down drastically. These are some of the examples of what we can do, but let me go back to an idea that I have mentioned earlier, that how could Bahrain go totally solar? Many of us say Bahrain does not have land. Solar requires land. We have desert. Why don't we put the solar panels in desert? We are not far. Our desert is not that far from the consumption area. That's a great advantage for this country. Also, another say would be, where does the money come from? I think the money can be pre-sold to other people, the people who are users of these. So just let's consider that we put 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer park in the desert in Bahrain. And then any consumer who has a regular use can buy parcels within that. So he doesn't have to generate on his own premises. He can generate there and get the electricity from the grid, being a small nation. I think if we make our determination strong, the same way that when we decided to have the formula in here, we have managed to do it. The same way when we wanted to have banking in here, we managed to do it. I think if we make a target that we want this country to be green country, I'm sure we can do it. And we can do it a lot more faster and efficient than anybody else. With this, I like to close my speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamid. Very insightful presentation right from the heart of business. I thank you for that. This was very informative to all of us.